Hey Angela, that is a really good question about the pumpkin. Um, so I was thinking about it, and let's imagine that we have a person who lives in a remote village and doesn't really have any contact with people, but she happens to have a pumpkin garden. And let's take it, let's up the level a little bit and move it from November to October, right? We'll move it over to Halloween so it's a little bit more sinister. Um, uh, so, um, so let's say that she doesn't know anything about Halloween. She doesn't know anything about American holidays whatsoever. She just has a pumpkin garden, and she has a bunch of pumpkins, and she likes them. She likes them, and she decides to pick one. She decides to put one in her house, next to her bouquet of flowers that she picked. And so the question is that a bad thing? I don't think so, because the spirit of the holiday is not even present, right? So she's not intentionally or unintentionally um, putting it there, you know, because there's no way for her to have intention or unintention because she knows nothing about the holiday. Well, I guess it could be unintentional, but it's not in celebration of the holiday itself because it's not actually going into that energy. So let's talk about energy for a second here. Um, when it comes to energy, you can you can think about uh, you can think about an object or a place um, or a time, and each one of those things has a unique uh, what I call a frequency container. Um, for example, imagine the 80s. When you think about the 80s, there's a specific, a certain feeling that you feel from the 80s. Like, oh yeah, that's the 80s, man. You know? And then you add in music, and it's like, oh yeah, the music of the 80s. See, that shifts it a little bit. If the 80s has a certain feel, but then when you put in the music, it has a little bit more of a shift, but it's still inside the 80s container, right? So it's like another frequency container inside of this big frequency container. So you have the big frequency container of the 80s, and then you have the music of the 80s, which is another container, and then you could go in deeper and you can, put containers everywhere. Um, so if you think about a person, every single person is unique, and there's a feeling about each person that is very unique, um, and that's their frequency signature. Um, or if you walk into a friend's house, or a family member's house, there's something unique about that frequency, right? Or you're walking through the grocery store, and everything's up for grabs, right? Nothing belongs to anybody, and so you're like, okay, well, I can take this, I can take that, I can take this, but if you see a box of mac and cheese on at the store, on the shelf, and there's no energy tied to it because it's up for grabs. Anybody can have it, right? As long as they pay for it. Um, but let's say that you're at a friend's house and you see that same box of mac and cheese. Now you feel almost an obligation to ask, like a feeling. There's a feeling of that doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. Or let's say that you're in the grocery store and you're about ready to steal the mac and cheese, right? So you have the mac and cheese in your hand, and it's fine for now. But if you have the intention of taking it, there's a negative vibration that comes in. You're just like a, you know, like a really a bad vibration. Um, and as you're walking toward the door, it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And if you decide to take that last step out the door, the it explodes with negativity, and just condemns, right? Um, so okay, so that's frequency containers, right? You can think about something, someone, some object, some anything. Even the Lord has a frequency. It has a frequency. When you open the Bible and you read the Bible, there's a very specific, unique feeling that comes from it. It's awesome. And even different books of the Bible, you know, there's frequencies for everything. Okay, so now with that being said, when it comes to Halloween, Halloween is a frequency container. So let's say that we have two frequency containers. Let's say that we have Halloween up here, and down here we have a person who basically loves the Lord and they like to grace their house with the things that He has, that He's provided. That's the container, and then anything can go inside that container. So now we have a pumpkin. Wait, was I over here? Oh, I'm backwards. Yeah. Okay, so we have a pumpkin here, and we have a pumpkin here. This pumpkin's going to go through this frequency container, and this same pumpkin is going to go through this frequency container, right? Um, so the one that goes through the Halloween container is the person who is taking the pumpkin has in mind that they want to put a pumpkin in their house or outside their house in celebration of Halloween, or to not to not stand out from the crowd, and they want to, well, it's Halloween, I got to put out a pumpkin so that my house looks cool like everybody else's. That's the spirit of Halloween. So I think if the pumpkin is going in for that reason, to please people, or but it has some sort of a tie-in into the frequency container of Halloween, that it's actually going into that container, which has the origination of that spirit. And so the moment the pumpkin with that spirit of Halloween enters into your dwelling place, your the movement of it coming in is an agreement to uh, it's an agreement to the celebration of that holiday. It's an agreement to the gracing your house because of the holiday, and it allows the spirit through. It creates a tunnel and allows the spirit in through that tunnel to come in. So then, if the person isn't bringing it into their house because of Halloween, but it's still October, right? And they know about Halloween, but they could care less about Halloween whatsoever, right? They don't even care about it. Other people celebrate it, they don't care at all. So they could technically put the pumpkin out anytime that they want to, you know, with their bouquet of flowers on their table, or outside their door, next to some potted plants or whatever, to make it look cool. Um, but their intention is because they love God. They love God, and they have this pumpkin, because they think it's beautiful. They think it's beautiful because God made it, and they're just, it reminds them of God. Every time they look at it, they're reminded of the Father and how loving He is and how beautiful His stuff is that He makes. Um, you know, and so I think it has to do with the intention of the person. You know, the difficult part is when you start mixing intentions. So let's see here. So let's say, let's see, how would that work? How would that work? Let's take Easter. So Easter, you have Easter eggs, and uh, and we have the celebrate. Easter is the celebration of Astarte, which is definitely what we don't want to do, and it's also the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. Obviously, everybody knows that. Um, so so let's say that your intention is to celebrate Jesus, but you want your kids to have fun with Easter eggs. Well, where do the Easter eggs come from? How would you know about that? Did you read it in the Bible to find out about the Easter eggs? If you didn't know about the concept of Easter bunnies and Easter eggs and all that stuff, would you have ever done something like that? Probably not. And so that means that the movement of an Easter egg into your house seems to stick inside of the Easter frequency container. And the origin of that frequency container of Easter is the celebration of Astarte, a very high level principality, which is, I think, the harlot that rides the beast in Revelation. Um, Very dangerous. But now let's think about something here. The blood of Christ has the power to erase. Um, I think it has to do with I don't know if it's direct consciousness or direct will or even subconsciousness, um, from the standpoint of the acceptance of bringing the egg or the pumpkin into your house with the with either the intention of celebrating Easter or non-intentional. Either way, that the original concept of that actually comes from uh, um, the origin source, which allows the origin source spirit to come in and infiltrate. But what about redemption? What about redeeming something? I don't know if you can. I mean, the blood of Christ has the power to erase everything. So what happens if you bring in the egg into your house and you're intending to celebrate the death of, or I mean the birth, resurrection of Jesus, the death and resurrection of the Lord. Um, you're celebrating the resurrection of the Lord, and yet you're bringing in the other thing. That's almost like the Ark of the Covenant going in front of Dagon. I don't think that there's any justification of it. I don't think so. I mean, we could twist things and say, well, I can cover it with the blood of Jesus and it'll be fine. But see, the thing is the beast that people are going to be made to worship. If they worship the beast in the end, there's no return. They'll never get their salvation back. So if they bow down to the beast, thinking, well, I just applied the blood of Christ to that, I redeemed it, and well, God understands. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And so I don't think that something like that can be redeemed. I think I think we're comfortable with the traditions, and we're happy with them because it brings happiness, to kids and stuff. But that's the sinister source of what it is, of how they've made it. They've made it to where people will welcome it into their lives and their cultures, um, from the standpoint of making it fun. I mean, I I like watching my kids, look for Easter eggs. It's fun, right? It is. It's totally fun. But nevertheless, the origin source actually comes from that spirit. And that's the conclusion that I'm coming to, man. That's the conclusion that I'm coming to. I don't see room for redemption. I don't see room for a mixture of the resurrection and the celebration of Astarte. I'm not seeing it. I'm going to meditate on it more, and I'm going to ask the Lord about it and stuff. Um, but of course, if the person who is celebrating the resurrection of Jesus happens to, I guess, buy a plastic egg, not knowing anything about Easter, I I don't know if that would actually bring the spirit of Easter in or not, because it has its source from that. But if the person doesn't know anything about it, then they're not technically agreeing to it, right? But maybe maybe people don't have to agree to it. I don't know. Um, is it possible to? Well, actually, I know with like Jehovah's Witness, or like the Book of Mormon. If the Book of Mormon comes in to a house, I know there's a spirit that will actually release into the house if it's brought in, and so. But it's unintentional, right? Right? The person is receiving the Book of Mormon because they think that it's going to actually be something that's going to help them. They don't have any idea of the sinister nature of the Book of Mormon, right? Um, but if it's taken from the person as an agreement and pulled into the house, it actually allows that spirit to release. And so apparently inadvertent reception of something like that can actually bring them in. So, in light of that, I would say that if that spirit inhabits the Easter egg and it's pulled in inadvertently without even knowing about Easter, um, that it could carry that energy. Oh, I know what it is. It's the okay. It's the intention behind what the Easter egg was made for, right? So you have a plastic Easter egg, right? Okay, so let's say you have a manufacturer that makes the egg, and they're making it because oh, I know. Um, like in one of the 25-cent machines, right? Let's say that they have little miniature eggs that they put together, but they don't know anything about Easter. They're just putting it in the machines, and so that's what the kids have to open is a plastic Easter egg to get their prize. I don't think the spirit of Easter is in that, but if the manufacturer is intentionally making it for the celebration of Easter, I think that the energy that since it's inside of that container, inside of that spiritual container, I think it might actually be tied in or embedded into it. The spirit would actually be in it. And spirits can inhabit objects because you remember the handkerchief that Paul pushed the glory of God into, went around and healed people. So that there's no question about that. The Book of Mormon had the evil spirit in it, and there's no question about that. Um, so so yeah, it can inhabit that. Uh, yeah. Overall, my personal conclusion is that if the object that is being brought into the house has the intention from anybody along its origin path, from hacking at a mountain to get the plastic out, all the way to the point of manufacturing it, casting it in plastic, and putting it on the shelf, and the person getting it off the shelf and bringing it into their house. If any of those people along that chain of events pours in the spirit of Easter or whatever, or the energy that represents what is being in the process of being created, or accepted into their home, I think that actually will allow the spirit to travel right through and enter in by agreement. Um, yeah. Okay. All right. This is a long one, but very, very thought provoking. It was really cool to be able to go through this. Um, Feel free to let me know your thoughts. Um, I hope other people watch this and give their thoughts too. That'd be really cool. So, anyway, yeah, take care and blessings to you.